All right, let's talk about something millions of us use, probably without even thinking twice about it. Buy now, pay later. You know, that super simple button at checkout, the one that makes everything so easy? Well, what if I told you the entire foundation of that system, it's starting to show some major cracks?
Yep, you heard me right. That easy credit, those simple little payments, that whole seamless thing we've all gotten used to. Well, the buy now party might just be coming to an end. And the reason why is actually a pretty wild story about how huge global money trends can mess with a simple click of a button on your phone.
Okay, but before we dive into all the trouble that's brewing, we gotta back up for a second. Let's set the scene. We need to really get a handle on the promise of BNPL, why it got so ridiculously popular to begin with. So, real quick, for anyone who's not totally sure what we're talking about, here's the deal. BNPL is basically a tiny short-term loan you get right there at checkout. You buy your stuff, the BNPL company pays the store, and then you just pay them back over a few weeks or months. And the best part? Usually it's interest-free. It's super simple, it's fast. Honestly, it kind of feels like magic, right? And look, it's obvious why we all love it. It plays right into that need for instant gratification. I mean, come on. There's no annoying credit card application to fill out. It's just a couple of clicks and boom, those new sneakers are already heading your way. The whole thing is designed to be completely seamless, just a part of shopping online, making it easier than ever to get credit when you want it. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. While we've all been enjoying this super convenient way to shop, this perfect storm of economic problems has been building up. We're talking about massive, outside forces that have absolutely nothing to do with your shopping cart, but everything to do with the money that actually makes BNPL work. And it starts with something I know you've been noticing: gas prices. So you're probably thinking, what on earth do oil prices have to do with me buying a jacket in 4 payments? Well, think about it. When energy costs go through the roof, it puts a strain on the entire economy. Everything gets more expensive to make and ship, which means we all have less cash left over to pay back our loans. And that makes the big money investors, the people who are actually funding all this, it makes them really, really nervous. And that nervousness leads straight to our second big problem: private credit redemptions. I know, that sounds super technical and boring, but trust me, the idea is actually pretty simple. See, these BNPL companies, they're not using their own cash to cover your purchases. Nope, they're borrowing it from these giant private credit funds. Redemptions is just a fancy way of saying that those nervous investors are now showing up and asking for their money back. They're pulling out. Simple as that. Okay, so this is where it all comes together. This is the really critical part of the story. Let's trace how these huge global pressures set off this crazy chain reaction that ends up putting a massive squeeze on the BNPL companies themselves. This is where you can really see the dominoes start to fall, one after the other. First, you've got the global economic pressure we talked about. That freaks out the investors. So what do? They pull their money from private credit. And just like that, bam, the BNPL companies lose their main source of funding. That river of money they desperately need to operate, well, it starts to dry up fast. So you might be thinking, okay, a funding crisis for some finance company. Why should I care? Well, here's why. Because the fallout from this whole mess lands right back on you, the consumer. It completely changes that experience you're used to having at checkout. And you can see that shift happening right here. The whole promise of BNPL was that it was easy, instant, totally reliable. But the new reality, it's a lot different. With less money to actually lend out, these BNPL companies have no choice but to get way stricter. So what does that mean for you? It means more people getting declined. It means tougher terms even if you do get approved. And it means this new, awful feeling of unpredictability. That tool you thought you could always count on, it might just vanish the next time you try to use it. So when you put all of these pieces together, you start to see the makings of what some people are actually calling a death spiral. You've got this entire business model that was built on one thing: a constant river of cheap, easy money. And now, all of a sudden, it's facing a world where that money is anything but cheap and easy to find. So what happens next? And that really is the crucial point, isn't it? The entire foundation of this buy now, pay later system we've all come to know, it's being shaken to its core. Its big promise was built on that river of funding, and that river is seriously threatening to run dry. Which leaves us all with one massive, looming question. If the pay later part of the deal is in deep trouble, what does that mean for the future of buy now?